You saw a picture of Stony Clove earlier. As we looked into the design of that, and it's a really, really spectacular landscape there, we looked at some of the history of the river. You don't need to see the slides in the bottom for those of you in the back. It just shows the individual lines. But what I wanted to show you is we know rivers move across the landscape. That's what they do. They erode, they deposit, and they migrate. And they migrate in a known area. Okay, this is a really important concept. That area has been termed the river corridor. Some people call it the meander belt width. So if you essentially went down the river and drew lines outside the meander bends, that's the most likely spot you're going to find the river over the long term. Going back to Stony Clove, so let's think about that balance. We have higher flows. We have a road that comes down the mountain. We have a road that's confining these areas. And these dark areas, this is a difference between two elevation maps from LiDAR. And the darker the red, the more the loss of material. Okay, so you can see that there's been a lot of erosion in some of these bend areas as the river is cutting down. The river's cutting down in all these channel spots and trying to migrate through to regain its equilibrium. That's why Stony Clove is moving. It's trying to get back that slope and balance. Part of it is the history of industrial works that have gone on, some of the filling incrementally for housing, and then ultimately around 214. That's confined this in the valley, and part of it's the geology here. So Stony Clove would naturally be doing this, but now it's locked in here and trying to get that energy in balance, and it's got to cut down and widen out. What if you arrive to a site? Let's say the first peoples came over, were migratory, and then all of a sudden, the rivers, let's say, were at a certain place in the landscape, and then everyone came, and the tanneries and the shacks and the cart paths that turned into asphalt roads, and our infrastructure and our society is sitting in those areas. And these are the conflict spots that we all know about. They're all over our country and our world. And then we armor the river, and we've just made a commitment, a financial commitment for life, or generations at least, until something changes, whether the river, the inputs in the watershed may change due to some of the changes we just heard about, or possibly a change in how we recover from the next flood and move back. But if we're in the floodplain and we're armoring, it's a long-term commitment financially, and the risk will remain.